One of the best parts about trading is the human element within us. Might be a pretty controversial idea of mine, but I truly believe that you shouldn't trade the markets like a robot. I'm not saying it doesn't work. Automatic trading systems can definitely work, but what makes your edge truly yours and powerful is the you within. The subjectivity in the markets is what defines you and it gives it your unique edge. That could definitely be the downfall or the success of everything for you. The lies are definitely coming from those that face the downfall and not the success of subjectivity. Yes, that does mean that every single model out there that ever is and has ever existed is completely different, no matter if they have learned from the same person. Why? Well, very simple. Because two individuals will never, ever be the same. How they think, how they look, and how they act. This is something that has been alive from the sadly influential people in the industry that shouldn't be influential for some time. They hinder you from learning with an overload of information, boxing your mind and saying you have to adapt to it instead of what I'm saying. Take what I give as a simplistic foundation and find you within that. What do you see? Not me. Because you and I, we will never see the same thing on what is being built on top of that foundation. But we will use the foundation in the same way, meaning we can explain it to one another and understand it on a technical level, but on what is being built on top of that foundation, we will not understand it from a subjectivity standpoint at the same wavelength. Again, we will understand the subjectivity in the foundation, but not what is being built on top of that foundation. That right there, that's yours. You own that. If I now run it back to the beginning in my life, to what my mother told me, Jay, never lose the simple mind of yours. In respect to that very sentence, I will now perform a little trick called simplifying. I completely understand your mind. You might have gotten hurt from watching price kick your ass. You in turn might try to find the new thing that essentially sets you off into the informational loop so that you feel like you are getting progress, but that's just imaginary and a coping mechanism to feel good about yourself. You make the market more complex because the more info that exists on the chart, the more complex it is. You make it more complex because you're going to feel like you're doing a lot of progress. You're getting somewhere. But again, that is just imaginary. I've been there. But now I see the market in a simple path. And that's how I solved the puzzle to my own freedom. I believe the market is simple, and therefore it is. I solved it. And I can now read it in a very simple way through the shit show model. 24/7, no restrictions, no time based rules attached to it. And this, my friend, doesn't mean that I'm not going to be wrong. I will be wrong, but I know how to make money when I'm wrong. Imagine that, right? So, in turn, the market becomes simple. Everything that I watch becomes simple. It's a positive spiral. And these psychology topics are huge problems for a lot of people. But that's the whole problem, my friend. The problem is sitting right in front of you with capital letters. You think the problem is big. And the problem, it now became big. I'll now present to you how I look at my personal problems and how I solve them. And of course, to be transparent, I still have problems that I fight with. I'm still a human being. Again, coming back to that subjectivity, us being human beings, that's a good thing. I would gladly have these problems with me if it makes me being able to read the market in a very, very different and simplistic way. I don't see me as better than somebody else. And there's so many people that I learn a lot from that might not even be profitable. They might be fathers, and I'm not a father yet. And I'm looking up to them to see how they're thinking, how they're handling their time, because they have way less time than I do. Coming back to it, some psychology problems will never really go away, and it's highly individual which ones stay and which ones disappear. For me personally, my biggest problems is definitely ego, and tied in with that, it's trying to prove myself. See, that's my dangerous parts in my mind. FOMO, not so much, to be honest with you, and I'll get to that in a bit why. But ego and trying to prove myself is the major problems that I'm facing every single day. Every time I sit down in front of the charts, I'm always aware of that when I'm trading. Always. Well, let's break down what FOMO actually is. And we will do that in 3 simple steps, and I will prove to you how simple the problem actually is. You will, in matter of fact, most likely feel that all of these 3 simple steps, are in one way or another correct. But the funny part is that it will get more and more simple as we move on. FOMO, or fear of missing out, is not just an emotion, though. Many people might believe it is. I feel, right? I feel the fear of missing out. As a matter of fact, what it is, it's the visible symptom of a deep structural identity level fracture of your psychological architecture. Bunch of fine words, right? So, in order for us to actually understand what it means, is in a simpler language, you have a problem within your identity. Let's say I have a problem in myself that is highly being influenced, taken from the outside in, on how and with what you are operating, meaning essentially your model. It's emerging from a combination of chronic lack of personal proven edge. What that means is no internal reference of what is a good trade and what is a bad trade. That being built of not understanding why through simplicity. I'll say it again, chronic lack of personal proven edge, which means no internal reference of what a good trade really looks like. You don't know what is a good trade. You can't differentiate a bad winning trade and a good winning trade. And that is purely built out of not understanding why through simplicity. You need to dig deeper under the trade. Why? Why is it a good trade? Can you explain that to me? Deep social media poisoning. Like, this is a classic. I hate this shit. It's a constant, informational loop, essentially. Highlights and reels of Lambos, funded accounts, screenshot, 20K days, Patek Philippe's, whatever, right? This is what I'm aiming for. Look at me. Look at how good I am. It's not helping you. That's somebody else's ego that is taken over completely. That guy is a jackass. Or I call them jackasses. And let me ask you this. Imagine how many P&L charts you've seen on X recently. How many of those P&L charts actually made you profitable? Did they help you in any sort of way? Did you get fired up and say, hey, good for me. Look, I'm already becoming better? No. Next point, absence of structured, repeatable, boring process. See, everybody that I speak to within the shit show model, I can't speak for anywhere else. I wish I could, I can't. But most likely, the shit show traders, they believe it's boring. It's the same shit every day. And how I think, and how many other really good traders out there think, I could name a few of them. These individuals, they don't find it a lot of fun to sit there and press the buttons. That's not what they find fun. They don't get that dopamine kick out of that. They really don't. As a matter of fact, they're trying to lower it by making it neutral colors more, or trying to give less of a shit of what is happening over here, because that's actually a byproduct of their hard work behind operating live environments. I'll say that again. That's just a byproduct. Pressing the buttons and seeing a trade go into a win over time based on data, that is just a byproduct of working their freaking ass off outside of live environments. Hence why backtesting is a really, really good tool. Comparison based self worth mechanism. Classic. It's essentially saying we're measuring ourselves with others' P&L instead of your own process. You're focusing way more on how somebody else is doing than yourself. That is straightforward, a dumbass and a jackass behavior. Why would you give a shit about how somebody else is doing? Why would you care? I can't really understand how you would care more for somebody else's P&Ls, withdrawals, life, payouts, this and that, than actually focusing that you are supposed to freaking understand this shit for once. It makes absolutely no sense to why you would focus on somebody else's progress when you are behind. Might be a bit controversial as well, but that's why I have a problem watching sports. Look at him, he's so good. Okay. Instead, I would rather feel I want to be that good. That would be amazing, man. I would love to be, I don't know, Cristiano Ronaldo, or I would love to be Tom Brady, who everybody loves, right? I would have loved to be those people, but that's, to be realistic, I'm not that good of a kicker or thrower. I'm working with my mind instead. So we have to apply the same thing over in trading. Why would you care so much how everyone else is doing when you have stuff to figure out? You have no time awareness. I need to make it before 30, Jay. I need to make it before crypto dies. I need to make it before the next bull run ends. Well, sad to say, buddy, but this is going to take time. And it's absolutely going to take time if you're focusing on other people than yourself. As a matter of fact, I might think that that is one of the main reasons why people lose. You focus too much on what everybody else. Why would you give a shit about how everyone else is doing? You need to work extremely hard for yourself. This is a lone wolf's game. You have to understand that. You're here to learn, practice, and piss off. That's the entire goal with trading. Or that should be your goal. That should be your number one goal. I'm learning for myself, but for some reason, if you think logically here, looking at somebody else saying, oh, look at that P&L chart. Look how good this guy's doing. Look how good that guy's doing. Isn't that just a coping mechanism of feeling like, oh, I'm part of this, so look how good we are. Look at this. No. It's a one man show at the end of the day. And don't let anybody tell you otherwise. That's why I teach learn, practice, piss off, go do something. You don't have time for me. You don't have time for my group. You don't have time for my community. You have actually only time for you, yourself, and only you until you put all of that time and effort back into your family and loved ones, because that's what we're here to do. And when all of these layers are active simultaneously, all of these topics that I've mentioned now, then FOMO becomes an almost inevitable nuclear emotional reaction. Not a mistake, but the actual logical result of the whole broken life trading system. You take the worst and you act like a freaking drug addict. That is FOMO. Now, here is FOMO explained in a simple way. We'll start to boil it down. You see what just happened? You see how the Lamborghini has just disappeared and his hand went down? See what I did there? Yeah, looks good, right? Now you see the complexity in a problem. This is most likely how you view all your problems that you're currently sitting on. And to change this up, this is where you start to make it personal. FOMO as a whole, let's say everybody has it, but to make it truly yours, your problem, it's not the market's fault, it's your fault, your problem, you are the problem, you are operating it. That's the goal here, which means that it's 100% your fault. Make it you within the problem. Start to navigate it into a quote of what you feel. FOMO is basically just your brain screaming, I don't trust my next planned trade enough, yet I want progress in my P&L now. And therefore, someone else's current trade looks much more attractive right now, which leads to solution. Your drug addict mind goes, what is the next thing? Reduced trust in own plan and system and dopamine chase is essentially FOMO. Now let's make it even more simple. We'll explain FOMO in one single word, and it's not going to be the word you think. Doubt. Got caught off guard, huh? You might have thought it's greed or wanting more, but that's not necessarily the bottom line, foundation to the fear of missing out. It's doubt in your own self that is built from a non existing trust in your system that you are operating the market out of. If the system cannot prove itself to you, you will automatically doubt your own ability to handle that system. If the system cannot prove itself to you, you will automatically doubt your own ability to handle that system. Or if we simplify it further, the model of your choice does not fit you. You are forcing your brain to fit it. And this is the reason why I speak so much about a model resonating with you. This is why I tell everybody go watch my YouTube first, because you have to make sure it resonates with you first. If it does not, you're going to waste time. Go and find what resonates with your brain, how you see what makes sense. And trust me, you don't even have to understand a model to see it and say, that makes so much sense. Go for it. Go hard. Go all in on that one thing. I don't care if it's ICT or MACD golden crossovers or EMA lines or time-based ranges from day, for example, or Stoics longer term fibs, right? I don't care. I don't care what it is, but you have to make it make sense in your mind. It needs to resonate with your brain where you go, oh, wait a second. Clearly, it takes some time to get rid of doubt with a whole new system. And it's not like it disappears overnight, but if it doesn't start to fade very soon, you have a model fit for a different mind, or rather, the wrong style and shoe size that you actually need. So the solution here is to find a model that is simple to understand. It should resonate with you and be very powerful in connecting your mind and it. If you get one trade a day for 5 days a week, it's pretty obvious that if you miss it, that one day, you'll be pissed off. No shit, I would be pissed off too. So, how I solved my FOMO was to create a disgusting amount of opportunities. If they are everywhere, it will be easier for me to wait or even skip past the part of forcing my mind into the market just to get something. If a model is not bound to time or the amount of trades, how could you miss out? That was my thinking when I saw the shit show model in front of me. I didn't solve the problem with FOMO by accepting. I solved it through creating opportunities everywhere through a system. If the opportunities are everywhere, there's no need for FOMO. The next opportunity can show up within 15 minutes. if even that. So, with that said, I'll now give you four different topics or four pinpoints to note down for yourself. The first being stop chasing the next thing and own your foundation. Pick one simple, repeatable model, like the shit show. For myself, you can watch that YouTube video somewhere around on my channel, or any other edge that resonates with you. You have to make it yours by adding your personal read on top of it. And never let anyone box you into adapt to my exact rules. The foundation is shared. The subjectivity on top is what makes the edge truly yours. Next one being simplify until it feels almost stupid. Delete every indicator, newsfeed, Twitter timeline, and extra screen you don't need. Ask yourself, can I explain this setup to a 12-year-old in under 60 seconds? If not, strip further, get rid of that shit. You don't need it. Try to make it as simple as possible because complexity in life and in trading is a coping mechanism. But in reality, simplicity is actually the real edge here. And number three, turn FOMO into a diagnostic tool. Next time FOMO hits, pause and ask, am I doubting my next planned trade? Write down the answer. For an example, I don't trust my system enough, plus I want progress now. That single sentence is your actual real problem. It might not be what you actually think. It might not be greed. It might not be the market. As a matter of fact, it's never the market's fault. Now you can treat doubt as data. You can now treat doubt as data because you put a word to it. You've added you to it. And number four, choose or build a model that fits your brain and style. If your current strategy gives you 1 to 5 setups a week and you feel crushed when you miss one, I do not blame you. That shit is the wrong shoe size. It only makes sense. It's the wrong shoe size. For some people, 1 to 5 setups a week is perfect. But that's not going to fit everybody. And it clearly didn't fit me. It was the wrong shoe size. And we all have different shoe sizes, right? Look for or create a system that gives you 20 to 300 plus opportunities per week, depending on who you are. Zero time of day restrictions. 20 to 300 plus opportunities per week based on who you are specifically. And zero time of day restrictions, that should be a freaking rule for everybody. I'm sure nobody came into the market saying, here we go, I want more time restrictions. I want to know when I get to work. I'm sure not a lot of people are saying that. They don't want that. You're coming into the market because it's a free market. It's open 23 hours out of the day. You should be able to operate the market 23 hours of the day. Not one, not two, not London session only, not New York session only. You sit whenever you feel like sitting. That's what I do. When setups are everywhere, missing out becomes impossible because missing out is now translated into what? I'll just take the next one. I'll just take the next trade. Okay, cool. Now I know what's going on. So let me just take the next one here. Imagine how calm the market would be operating within something like that. It gets calm, it gets easy. Now, with this, I want to leave you with a little treat. A section of a recording coming from inside the group, a live we had the 27th of January. So I hope you enjoy that video now. Thank you for taking your time out of the day. Talk to you very soon. We have that ISS down here not to be treated as a target, but price might want to run back into it, which would also make sense. I just don't like how it left this one out. So according to what we have right here on the higher time frame, we could see that 3 just plummeting through that 2, and then we would have a reason to run back up into the shit show plus level for sure. We also have a reason to go down there, but for me, it would be clearer if we're going to continue to be bearish the upcoming or for the rest of the day. Look at this. For me to understand that the sort of idea of price to continue to be bearish for the rest of the day would be somewhat if price now went back up, swept that one, not leaving a shit level, being efficient price, then taking down here, we can almost expect the price to somewhat fail to the downside or fail, rather a 4 or 5 that doesn't want to run higher again. Um, Meaning that things will get swept in here. But based on my understanding, there was not a lot of targets down here. We have those two. We have that. That's a high time frame one. It's not even a clear one, so I wouldn't look at that. That's an ISS sitting here. This could actually be the reason of us running higher after if we're on lower. So this would mean bearish price action, a bearish price action for the rest of the day. And this would mean potentially consolidation. If price just runs down here now, we can see consolidation because now we're in the 4 and 5 on the high time frame. It could run into the SS plus and then drop, which I see the highest likelihood. So either way, look at where is the one-way street, guys? Here, here. Why would we leave it? Right here comes the why. Why would we leave price or a shit show plus level or a shit show level up top like this if it wasn't to go back up and sweep it after we're on that low? Does that make sense? Like asking that question of why would we do something that would build sort of the story here. What is the reason for it? Is it to run down here for have a reason as the 4 or 5 to run sweep that SS plus level and shoot back even higher, which means that essentially if price runs into this high time frame 2 at the bottom, what that could signify is it could be bullish for the rest of the day or it could be bearish for the rest of the day, right? And the reason why I say that is because if price runs up here first and then runs lower, now we have a bigger reason to be bearish, right, for the rest of the day. Why did it not look to sweep that Chicho plus level? There must be a bigger meaning to it because inefficient sequences are put there, in my opinion, for us to have a reason to reach back into that price later on, right? That's the story. If an inefficient sequence is created, it says, you know what, we're going to look to go back here as soon as we have done our job to the upside. When we've done our job to the upside, the market's going to go, uh-oh, hold on a second. I just freaking messed up down there. Let me just go back and get it. It runs right back down and get it. That's the shoot back down. Everybody was looking for that 2 into 3 and look for a long here. Now people are getting kicked right in the face because of this. Instead, I'll just be calm, steady, and wait for something like this to happen instead. We just swept these 2 lows. We might see a bounce on that ISS after sweeping those 2. Let's see what the market does. We just swept that ISS. Do you see what I mean? Do you see where the high probability moves are located at now, guys? You see what I mean with this? And this is what I mean. It can sweep that, tap into this, just shoot away from it. No, I'm not participating in this. I haven't taken this trade, but it's still the important part of now I'm just sitting here explaining things because I think that this is decently important. Uh, Let me just mark this out as white of point of interest. Let me get rid of that. But do you understand what I mean here? This is exactly what I mean. We need to find the higher probability areas, which is being that was a high probability point of shooting away. Everything in here is not a high probability because we have two different ways to go. I'm looking for this one-way street. One-way street. This is now for me in my head, one-way street. And now we're sweeping this area, we swept that area. It's mostly come back up to the Schedule Plus level. Though be careful with Schedule Plus levels. Careful with those suckers. Because it can just move away from here again now. Schedule Plus levels have the tendency to do that. See, now I just said it can bounce away from here. Be careful with taking longs because you might be looking to get up here. Schedule Plus levels have this tendency. Now it's shooting back down again. Like I've been through this price action so many times, but it's about understanding how it's literally bouncing to the ticks of these levels. Understanding the story before it plays out. I was expecting price to get this reaction down here, right? So if that is my expectation, I'd be very much bullish. But in this case, a lot of things might want to play out in order for us to reach that Schedule Plus level again. A lot of things might want to play out here. Because it's a higher time frame too. Look at this. Like imagine how many sequences are just in this area, this area, this area, this area. Like imagine how many sequences are in here. So we can have full-on sequences before we shoot back up into the SS Plus level as well. But since that's coming from the higher time frame, now we need to understand again that we're just operating within here. This is what we're operating within. Right now it becomes more clear, but we go back to the 1 minute. It's like, holy shit, a lot of things are going on, Jay. Yeah, but be mindful of that where we're at. You need to watch the current. Don't stress over as soon as we run this, we have to take that long. No, you don't have to. You really don't have to. You can wait for an entire sequence to play out. You might even miss the move, and who gives a shit? You will just take the next one. Right? If you truly just understand the ability of having 330 sequences, or actually entry models, or entryways, or getting into price, I think that was just through running number 2. Why would we give a shit? I don't have to take a trade for the entire day. I can take 50 trades tomorrow if I want to. And that's how I beat my FOMO, by understanding that I don't have one silver bucket set up a day. Each day. Not even each day, because we have, high impact red news events. There's literally no need for FOMO. We don't need to be missing out. You're not missing out shit. As a matter of fact, you know what price is doing, but you decide to not take it just because not feeling too good about that. Not clearly doing this. It's a lower probability. So let me just no. Let me just not be operating here. Right? Who gives a shit if you have 330 sequences or setups in a day or in a week? My bad. So now we can't trade, right? You need to understand that FOMO is beaten not by sitting on your hands and really trying really hard to not take a trade. That's not how FOMO is beaten. FOMO is beaten the complete opposite way. I do everything different. I read price backwards, only predicting, and I beat FOMO by giving me more opportunities to solve my FOMO. So I'm doing everything backwards to what people are saying because that's how my mind works. It's stupid to have FOMO if you have that many setups. Why would you care about 1? Why would you care about 2? Why would you even care about 10? Right? That's how we do it.